So that's the benefit of Ace Handyman Services is they're our employees. We know who they are. We have most of them in our own vehicles. So it's definitely trustworthy to have somebody we know, we've hired coming into people's homes. So it's definitely that security.
We have to sell to our skills or the skills of our team. And I like to refer to that as a soup. Like there's a lot of different ingredients in that soup, and we're advertising the ingredients that we have.
So if we have somebody coming out and they get a text message, hey, Bill's on his way, and you pop up with a little picture, you can click on it, you can map them, you can see where the guy is. It definitely gives you that sense of security, like, I know who's coming. There's no question.
There's just a lot of tasks to do. So we're just always working on figuring out like this is one of the reasons I'm so grateful to Bill, because he like held this thing together so I could go out and figure that out. That
What if you could get inside the mind of a business owner that has been operating successfully for 20 years now, and they told you everything, all of the inside info about their business and how they run it? Think about how insightful that would be for you. Well, you're in for a treat because I loved talking to Bill and Aaron Woods of Ace Handyman Services franchise because they held nothing back. They shared their sales and how much money their business is producing. We talked about their hiring strategy and some of the challenges they face in hiring and staffing their business and how they solve it. Aaron and I went deep on doing a business that you're passionate about and the specific advice that she has for anyone looking to buy a franchise around, whether you should do a business that you're passionate about or not. We also talked about what it's like working with their spouse, because if you couldn't tell, they're married. And so how they manage the division of responsibilities in their business. It's really a great episode that you'll want to stay and listen to the end because we go deeper as we go farther in the episode. Now, if you want to buy a franchise in the next 12 months, you should check out my free franchise masterclass at franchiseempire.com/masterclass. And if you want to work with me and my team on finding or buying a franchise or resale business, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/ZTPF, as in zero to profitable franchise, ZTPF. And you can schedule a free call, and we're happy to see how we can answer your most pressing questions and point you in the right direction. With that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Franchise Empire Show. They say Rome wasn't built in a day, and building your empire doesn't happen overnight. My name is Tarek Johnson, and owning franchises is what helped me go from employee to employer and start building my empire for my family. So this podcast is for you, the empire builders. For those of you who want to build something that stands the test of time. This is for those of you who are crazy enough to believe that you can make the dream in your head come to life. This podcast is all about bringing you real people who are building real empires so you can get inside their mind and heart and get proven strategies and actionable insights that will catapult you to build, grow, and scale your empire. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Franchise Empire Show. I'm here with Bill and Aaron Woods. Nice to have you guys here. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having us. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So I think the best place to start is, tell us a little bit about your business. Like what is your business? What do you guys do?
I'll go. So our business is Ace Handyman Services. We're part of a national franchise that is in the Ace Hardware family. And we do everything in the handyman lane. So changing light bulbs in hard to reach areas, doing drywall repairs, hanging pictures, hanging art, cleaning gutters in our area. That's something we can do. Power washing. And then we also get into replacing flooring, painting rooms, updating bathrooms and kitchens and basements. And we do a fair amount of deck building or upgrades.
Wow, that's quite diverse.
Yes.
Very, very interesting. Now, and I just learned this recently. I thought that Ace Hardware was a franchise, but turns out they are a co-op. The physical Ace Hardwares is is Ace Handyman, is that actually owned, like the franchisor, is it owned by Ace or are they just licensing the name?
It's owned by Ace.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Ace Handyman is a franchise. We're not a co-op.
Got it. Yeah, very very interesting. And what is your like from a uh like 10,000 level foot overview, what does your business look like in terms of, team, territories, different things like that?
So we have two old territories. The territories they sell now are smaller. So we have a very large territory. Our original territory is the Harrisburg area of Pennsylvania. And then in 2019, we added Lancaster and York. So I think all together it's about 560,000 households or something. It's pretty big.
Sounds like it. Sounds like
I
it.
believe the newer franchises now start out with somewhere around like 70,000 homes, so it's definitely a smaller piece.
Wow, interesting. I would imagine that's a lot to cover and manage then.
We're still trying to figure it out.
It's a big area.
And what is the in terms of drive time? Like if you were to go from one edge of your territory to the other, what does that look like?
Over an hour. Yeah. Over at
2 hours,
least, yeah. Hour and a
hour and a
half
half.
from
Yeah.
the east end of Lancaster to the west side of Harrisburg.
Interesting. Are you guys do you guys watch football at all? No? Okay. I was about to say, are you Eagles fans? Because I'm a Washington Commanders fan and they play on Thursday night. So
Nice. I lived in Philly for years, but football's just not even on my radar.
I hear you. I hear you. And so tell me about, and you guys are married, right?
Yes.
We
Yep.
are 15 years.
Congratulations.
She's still with me, still grateful, man.
That's awesome.
I got a good one.
So what are your roles in the business? Like how does that differ? So I'd love to hear that. And what is it like working with your spouse?
It's great. Get to see her every day. Um, it's it's challenging because we're always there. But days like today, if I have things going on, Aaron will be in the office. So we really are not in the same office, in the same space every day, every hour. It is a wild moving dartboard that we cover very well. I don't know how people do it individually. I could not even imagine doing it without her. Um, she definitely holds us together, I think, and helps me. I do a lot of the operations, really working with the team and some of the programs and platform stuff. Erin is definitely high level, crazy ideas she comes up with. How do we navigate through them? How do we make them work? She is definitely the dreamer. We would not be doing half of what we do right now without her. So very grateful to have somebody like Erin helping me do this. I couldn't do it without her. She's amazing.
And I feel the same about Bill. I've certainly gone through a lot in 20 years, and he's been back with me since 2019 in the business. And I'd say it's the most foundationally confident that I've felt in 20 years, even though we've certainly been through some hard times. I know that marketing and financials are my side, and he's got operations and just making that work together.
So our team have looked into a few hundred franchises and put together a list of 5 low-cost franchises that all make $1 million or more and that have a proven track record of both happy and profitable franchisees. So if you have a net worth of at least $150,000 and you want to see if the territory that you want is still available for any of these franchises, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. All right, let's get back to the episode. Yeah, very interesting. it's so important to have that like yin to your yang, right? It's interesting because when we work with franchisees, like we keep working with franchisees even after they sign their franchise agreement, and one of the key pieces of advice that we give is to hire your opposite, in the beginning, and because you have some people that are more operationally minded that wind up buying a franchise. And they're like, scale sales scares me, right? And I don't know a lot about sales. And I'm like, okay, that's the first person you need to hire then. Because number one, without sales, you have no business. Um, and unless you're really committed to learning it and getting outside of your comfort zone, it's hard. So I can imagine that's a real advantage and relief to be able to lean on each other in those different areas.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, even we started a new software system a year and a half ago, and I would never have made it through that without him 100%. So,
And what does your team look like? Like how many employees do you have, and what does that look like?
Well, we have three, well, actually five, three office staff um, that answer the phones and kind of help with the day to day. One of them are part time, two are full time. We have two part time people that Aaron has brought on recently to help us do some business development and also help with some of the marketing and website. Um, so she has all of that. So she's really directing them to help her, and I think it's going well. It's definitely moving in the right direction. Field wise, we have six people right now out in the field actually doing the work, and they range from apprentice to senior top guy who can do anything. And it's a nice mix. I would love to have more, but we're always looking.
Yeah, and are the individuals doing the actual work? Are they contractors or are they employees?
They're employees. We do not subcontract, so they're all our employees. They're all handpicked by Aaron and I. We trust them. We've had them in our house. We've had them in Mom's house. So that's the benefit of Ace Handyman Services is they're our employees. We know who they are. We have most of them in our own vehicles. So it's definitely trustworthy to have somebody we know we've hired coming into people's homes. So it's definitely that security
yeah, and they're background checked, drug tested, all that.
bonded. Yes.
That's great. I'm sure that is a real leg up, because in the world of services, there's such a stigma around lack of trust, or contractors are not reliable, or all these different things. So um do you see that is a big competitive advantage that you guys have, and people really like feel good about that, and that's a decision maker in choosing you guys?
It is. It absolutely is. And with some of our new software and platform that we have over the last year, it's really advanced. So if we have somebody coming out and they get a text message, hey, Bill's on his way, and you pop up with a little picture, you can click on it, you can map them, you can see where the guy is. It definitely gives you that sense of security. Like I know who's coming. There's no question. Yeah, it's really nice. It's definitely brings that.
Professionalism.
There you go. That's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
Nice. Awesome. And then in terms of like just sales or operations of the business, what does that look like? Like what does the size of your business look like?
We have been in the 1.3, 1.4 range the past few years. So I think we're stuck in that at the moment, and that's what we're trying to navigate through and beyond. So we've certainly gone through breaking the $1 million and then consistently breaking $1 million. And now, how do we get to the next goal to two and beyond?
Cool. So and that's an interesting point. So what has been the because it is interesting how business is kind of like a series of plateaus, and then kind of figuring out the next growth push, and then another plateau. So what have those been over the years? And then maybe break down like what was the challenge at each of the break points, and then what allowed you to get past that plateau?
So, I mean, I started this in 2004, and I don't think we hit $1 million until 2018. So I came in, my background was in graphic design. I started this business with my dad and only planned to do it for a year. So I kind of ended up here by accident. So, it took 14 years to hit $1 million. So God bless the slow learners, as one of my coaches likes to say. Um, so I think getting beyond that, in 2020, we had a general manager that left, and Bill was running the show. And at that point, I actually tried to step away and focus more on art, um, and just kind of leave things in Bill's hands and just guide him from a distance. And then I realized that, I really like making money more than making art, maybe. And trying to make art under pressure to make money was like not helpful in making art for me. Um, so I feel like there's been a couple instances throughout the 20 years where I've tried to walk away and get pulled back. So I think I've accepted that, this is my business. I started this thing. It needs my heart. Um, Neither one of us can do it without the other one, or without someone, I would say. I don't know that it specifically has to be us, but it definitely takes at least two people, and I think more, to get to the next level. So, we see it a lot in the franchise, where there's people who are coming in on their own and have a hard time breaking past a certain level. So there's just a lot of tasks to do. So we're just always working on figuring out, like, what are we good at? What do we need to hire for? And that changes every year.
Yeah, interesting. And so, Bill, from your perspective, what do you feel like has kind of been the keys to growing for you guys over the last 4 or 5 years or so? Kind of because I think you guys said that, Bill, you rejoined the business in 2019. Is that correct? So what were you doing before then? Um, and then what did you kind of start working on and help with as you rejoined?
Well, way, way back, I was working in Delaware, which is about 2 hours away when we got married, hoping to try to transfer to another location. And that didn't happen. So I left my job and started working with Aaron, just to kind of help support, and did that for about a year and a half, until something opened up back in my field. And then I did it and got a lot closer to home. Eventually, that was for Pep Boys. I worked for them for about 16 years and navigated through different managerial roles and ended up running their distribution center in Lancaster. And then the company was sold, and kind of saw the writing on the wall that, things are going to change, and left. It was a very good time to get back into the business and be more support for Aaron, with everything going on at that time, and came back full time. And right at that same time, we picked up Lancaster York territory, and that, the timing just kind of fell all into place for me to devote my career to this, and, be there for Aaron and help grow the business. And we have not looked back since. I wouldn't want to do it any other way. Some days I don't know what the heck I'm doing, and some days, she's like, "What the heck are you doing?" But I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else. Very grateful to have her with me, um, and grateful that I have the opportunity to be here and support her. I think the best thing was to give us more stability in our platform and our processes, to be safer, be more secure with what we're doing. And I mean, that's where we're at right now. It's definitely a learning pattern to go through all that and make us better. And I think, having both of our skill sets that are completely different, really help us. just to see what I'm doing through her eyes. You do something and you're like, it looked good to me. And she's like, well, why didn't you do that? I'm like, I didn't think of that. So having her viewpoint really has helped me grow. And hopefully I've helped do that as for her as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, and Aaron, you actually had a kind of an interesting point that I'd love to unpack a little bit more, which is because it sounds like your passion is art, and we were talking about this before uh, we started recording about how you're an artist, and um, we have some clients where they struggle with the concept of, as they're looking to buy a franchise and figuring out what they're going to settle on, I really want to do something that I'm passionate about, you know? And
Eh.
okay, so what's it, tell me, yeah, give me your breakdown.
Okay. So I feel like this is one of the reasons I'm so grateful to Bill, because he like held this thing together so I could go out and figure that out. That for me, what I had to learn was having passion outside of this is sacred space. And to try to force money out of my passion, maybe not so great for me. I see a lot of people come into this business that know nothing about home improvements at all. So I don't know. I feel like there's a balance in there. I originally, growing up, like I was doing all the technical drawing classes in high school. I was planning to go to college for architecture and then chickened out because of physics, basically, and ended up starting college in interior design, which was really interior architecture. So I had a lot of working knowledge of the business and some hands on. But I certainly never, I thought maybe I'd own an interior design business. I ended up changing my major to graphic design, and worked as a freelance graphic designer. So I think all of the things I've done in my life have helped me do this business really well. But at the end of the day, I can kind of separate myself a little bit from it instead of it being super personal. There is a little bit of, oh, what's that word? I know you know what it is. It's escaping me right now, where I don't feel like I know enough. Imposter
Oh,
syndrome.
imposter syndrome, yeah.
But I think now that I've hit 20 years, I'm a little bit better about that. A little.
Interesting. I think that's something that people don't realize is like an underlying trait of most people that are achieving success in different areas, which is that they often feel like, I don't really it feels like I don't really know what I'm doing. Right? In a sense.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Um fascinating how and the actual perception, right, of what other people perceive of us, and they'll perceive, us as the expert, and like, no, wow, you're actually really knowledgeable. Well, so the whole passion thing is very interesting to me, because and you alluded to it before, which is, if you force yourself to have to make money from something that you're passionate about, it can quickly, it's no longer a passion, right?
Right. Yes.
And so yeah, I think that's a kind of an interesting point, and that was the direction that we went when we decided to go. The juice and smoothie route was, we were making juices and smoothies at home, really passionate about it, not realizing that, operating that business has really 5% of it is making juices and smoothies.
Right.
So yeah, learning.
Well, I know Erin and I mean, we did a lot of home improvements on our own. She did it with her dad. I did it with mine. I did it with friends. It's all great. We got this. And that is really a small portion of what we're currently doing.
Right. So really, and I think this is a place where Bill and I really connect. Like the passion in this is the customer service part of it. Like we both know how difficult customer service has become in the world. All you have to do is go out to eat and find out how, people don't remember why you're there to eat, right? Because you're hungry. So it's it's just this, like, I think we're both passionate about great customer service. And that's really a big chunk of this business.
Yeah, very, very, very interesting. How does that drive some of the decisions that you guys make in the business?
For me, it's like being on top of returning phone calls, being on top of getting estimates back, something we've always struggled with. Um, Making sure that customers satisfied, and sometimes having to eat a little bit of crap around that because people have very different viewpoints on home improvements. You could have 10 contractors in a room or 10 customers in a room, and they'd all have a different opinion on the outcome or the finished product. Um, so just showing up for that, hearing people out, hearing what they need, and then deciding if we're okay with meeting them there.
Yeah, I think both of our backgrounds, I know mine, been in customer service for so long. I I have no problem admitting our mistake, no problem meeting with a customer. Okay, what do you think happened? What do you feel should happen? What's fair? What's not fair? And make that decision. And if we have to fix something again or make it to their likings, I have no problem doing that. I certainly can take the shoes off and look at it from their viewpoint. I have that skill. And it's tough too because people expect a lot more than they ever have. And they're not very giving. And it's tough. It is tough out there, but we do our best. We're not going to please everybody. And sometimes we have to say we're really not the right people for you. And we say you should contact, a professional that does that specifically. But I think the customer service part is really where it begins. We want to do the right thing. And if we cannot, we'll tell you we will not do something just for a dollar. We'll do it right, and we'll stick behind our work. We guarantee our work for a year. We want our people working on your house. We want them to be proud of it. So we do the right things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But the goal is the service piece. I mean, really, that's where it's at. Taking care of the customer. And if we can't help them, let us help you find somebody that can. It's okay.
When your home needs help, you might not know where to start. Do you pick up a tool? Do you reach out to somebody you trust? Why not ask Ace? We're always here to help with Ace Handyman Services. It's the helpful service you trust. Ready at your front door. Our talented craftsmen handle everything from drywall and carpentry to doors and kitchens. We're the neighbors you trust to get the job done right, and we're never finished until you're satisfied. Let's get started. Book your handyman appointment today. Ace Handyman Services, bringing helpful to your home.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
And what percentage of your business? I would imagine that would help generate referrals and repeat business. What percentage of your business, and even anecdotally, is either repeat business or referrals because of that?
Our repeat business is actually 50%.
Wow.
Really good.
You are a repeat and referral, I would say. But repeat customers is 50% of the business for us.
Is that something that is there a metric that and a KPI that's tracked, and does the franchisor rank or track in the system based off of that at all?
I've actually been tracking that for years. I started tracking that on an Excel sheet years ago. So existing customer calls that were booked versus new customers and percentage closed on new customers. And it's consistently been 50%.
Fascinating. I'm curious system wide what that looks like.
Oh, yeah, I'd be curious about that too. I think maybe with Service Titan, we would have that information sooner than later once everyone has a year under their belts.
And Bill, were you going to say something on that topic?
No, no, Aaron hit it right in the head. I mean, I was surprised on the amount of repeat business, but it's the customer service piece. I mean, taking care of the people, they call you back, whether you can do it or not. They know they're at least we want to be their call. If we can't do it, we'll steer you in the right direction or help you find somebody or help navigate through it. So I think that's where the customer service piece and the repeat business comes from. It's just that desire to help, even if we can't.
Right. And the other part of the model too is that in most situations, you're not waiting months to have someone come do work. Like we know if we're booked out more than a week, we need to hire someone else. Because if someone has a problem, they need it taken care of today, tomorrow, the day after. If it's a leak or something like that, they can't wait 2 months for a guy to show up.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting to me about your business is and lately in franchising, I mean it always existed, but it's become more common now, is these hyper niche franchise businesses. So now you have, franchises that all they do is power washing. You have franchises that, all they do is flooring, and it's getting even more and more niched. So, what do you guys have like you were saying kind of all of the different services that you guys do? Is there a part of your business that's like your core business? And if so, what is that?
I've always looked at it that handyman work was about 30%, 4 to 5 day jobs was 30%. Maybe handyman is more like 40. 4 to 5 day jobs was another third. And then the remodeling, the bathrooms, kitchens, basements, decks was that other third. I think we've been a little off that the past 4 years as we've gone through team change. We have to sell to our skills or the skills of our team. And I like to refer to that as a soup. Like there's a lot of different ingredients in that soup, and we're advertising the ingredients that we have. I think what works well for us is that, you know, the power washing companies I know, they're like, okay, we're um, not doing anything for the next 2 months. It was 26 degrees here this morning. So it really, there's seasonality, I'd say, to any business, but it helps kind of blur those lines a little bit. And I know I have to push more interior work for winter work. So we can do that. And I've definitely seen over 20 years where, you know, one year we get a ton of calls for fence repair. And then another year we get a ton of calls for replacing doors, or so that request moves and we move with it instead of being pigeonholed into one thing.
Yeah, interesting. And so, what you were saying that you'll kind of market specific things. Is there an area of focus that you guys have like right now based on the skill set of your team? And if so, what is that?
I think now there's two things that I focus on. One is, hey, let's get repairs done. The holidays are coming. Like, do you need that room painted? Do you need pictures hung? Do you need the bathroom floor replaced? And then also working on building winter. So, hey, speaking of bathroom remodels, we do a discount on labor to keep our guys inside, keep the schedule full. So just kind of always moving through the seasonal challenges or holiday challenges, stuff like that.
And I think that's where Erin's experience comes in, is knowing those seasons and the hills and preparing for them. So she's done really well with that.
And trust me, time moves way faster than I can sometimes. Like, oh, it's the middle of November.
Hey, so if you want to figure out if you should buy a franchise and learn the fastest and easiest way to figuring out the best franchise to buy and everything you need to know about the process, then you'll want to go get access to our Franchise Buyers Academy. In our Franchise Buyers Academy, you'll get a behind-the-scenes look into specific franchises and exactly how much money they are making. You'll get simple formulas for finding money-making franchises and a blueprint on how to scale them into a franchise empire that can be sold for a lot of money later on. You'll be able to finally answer the question on, should I buy a franchise? Now you can get access at franchiseempire.com/FBA. Now let's get back to the episode. Yeah, time flies. It's crazy. So from a marketing, tell me a little bit about your marketing strategy and what you guys do for marketing, and do you like, how do you determine your marketing budget as well? Is that a certain percentage of revenue, or it's just a fixed amount? So tell me about just kind of that area overall.
Franchise KPIs are 8 to 10% of budget should be marketing. We include our franchise has a 2% brand fund fee, so we include that in there. Um, for me, my whole mission is fill the schedule. So I am looking at the number of calls we get every day and comparing that to the previous week or the previous month. So I do a lot of tracking around number of calls or number of leads, how many we close, what our close rate is. That's the same thing. Um, I'm just always watching those things. And if I see the number of calls dipping down, then I'm focused on spreading the word more and trying to get more calls in. So I typically recently this year I've done that with Facebook ads or social media ads in general and emails to existing customers, because having that data that existing customers are the foundation of our business, or the bedrock, literally. I'm just going to give them more. I'm going to give them more love, give them more reasons to call. Yeah.
Well, I think Erin does a phenomenal job with that because she is definitely on that. And like, okay, we dip down, then she's going to react. And okay, this isn't working. She'll try something else. So she's really creative. So that's where her background and skills really complement. Because something's not working, she's not going to continue to do it. She'll venture out and try something new. And oh, that one worked. The phone's ringing off the hook. Great.
Right. But if our close rate is dipping, it's like, okay, well, is it something like there's an election and people are stressed out and it's just going to be that way? Or is it a training issue in the office? So then I'll spend more time in the office listening to the ladies and say, why don't you try saying this? Or don't forget to say that.
Do you think you would have had the growth and the success that you've had without being on top of your numbers and looking at them frequently?
No, no.
No. And I remember years ago, we had a group within the franchise, and I was talking about this, like tracking number of calls and close rate. And they were like, garbage in, garbage out. It's like, what do you mean? Like, how do you function without knowing this information? I couldn't even imagine.
I mean, how many years have you been doing that?
Yeah, I do think that obsession with that has contributed to our success so far.
I mean, how many years have you been doing that?
A lot.
And now we have a new platform. We kind of spearheaded with the franchise, and we're now being able to provide that for everyone. So it's still work in progress, but that's something that is necessary now. And Erin's been doing it for so long. She's just wonders, like, how did you function without that? I've had this. It's now going electronic, and now we'll be able to see it with a few clicks, which is amazing.
Well, that's where Bill comes in, because the first time he was with us was like 2011. And I had this whiteboard beside my desk. And on the whiteboard, I had the sales for every month since 2004. And one day he was like, you're about to run out of room. What are you going to do? He's like, why don't you try Excel? I was like, oh, I can do that.
That's funny. Hey, you know what? Better to track it, even if in an antiquated way, than not track it at all. It's interesting to me, the theme that I'll see with, because I was telling you before that we have some franchisees that we work with and help and kind of coach, and this is one of the fundamentals of what we what we teach them is knowing your numbers, reviewing your scorecard weekly, and then being very conscious about the review of your scorecard in terms of what's working, what's not working, and what's driving those numbers, and what do I need to do about it. And it's not surprising to me that anytime I talk to a franchisee that's struggling, oftentimes they don't know their numbers. Is that what you find too? Do you guys have people that call you asking like, "Hey, how do we get better?" And
So I love supporting other franchise owners. That's also something I'm passionate about. And I've seen patterns, especially um, like people who are doing the business on their own. And I've seen some people be stuck at the same numbers for years. And I'm like, if you just did this one thing, it would change your business. And they just can't even fathom it. So, and I get it too, because it's like, you have that feeling that I just don't have the money for that. But it's like, no, that will give you the money for it because you have that person doing that job. Um, I don't know if I answered the question. But yeah, so a combination of not knowing their numbers. I definitely feel like I've seen people know their numbers. They just don't realize that this, like adding another person answering the phone, is what's going to make the biggest difference in their business.
Mm. So what I'm hearing you, and this is the perfect segue because this was the topic I wanted to hit next, was kind of team hiring, that sort of thing. What I'm hearing you talk about is really like buying back your time and adding so that you can spend your time on higher leverage activities that either drive more revenue or more growth in the business overall, which is a key thing. Yeah, like people will see hiring an employee as a cost, and although it's really an investment if you do it the right way.
Yeah, so ugh, I've seen it with a number of people. So they'll have 5 guys in the field, one person answering the phone. Well, that kills that person. 5 guys for one person is max capacity, but they're afraid to hire that second person to answer the phone. So then person number one starts to fall apart because they don't have the support they need. And then trying to get number two up to speed at that point is tough. So we've always been heavy in the office because people have things going on in their lives and they need to take time off. And I think we've been at 4 people answering the phone, and we have voice over internet, and you'll still hear the phone ringing in the background. So you don't even realize what you're missing if you only have one person on the phone. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Yeah, very 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 interesting.
If you have one person and the phone's ringing, oh, you're like, oh, I'm only missing one call. But imagine 4 people on the phone and the phone's still ringing. How many calls are you missing?
Yeah, very interesting. And how does that who manages, cuz I know Bill you're more on the operation side of it. So are you primarily managing the team that's in the field, and then Aaron you're managing the office staff? Is that how that works?
So Bill was doing all of it. And
Oh,
that's where, so again, just this fall, and I mean, we've all gone through so much the past 4 years, right? So our son was home for 3 years doing cyber school. This is his second year back in person. So that's made a big difference. I was doing everything from home before because he was home. Now he's back. There's still being a mom. It's like, okay, well, I want to be home with him in the summer. He's only 12. He just turned 12. So that's another, thing to lump in there with the ownership. Um, is our own personal lives. So I have spent more time back in the office because I'm like, wow, he's really doing way too much. Like trying to manage the field, stay on top of the estimates, stay on top of the ladies. It's too much. So we're in the process of like, what do we need to hire for to take stress off of him? So I'm trying to come in and help with the ladies. And it is a different perspective too, because I may have a softer approach.
We're different people. That's the benefit,
Right.
right? That is what helps us.
I'll still get it done. with a little more sugar on top, but it's just different. So I think that's what you have to do as a business owner. You have to change constantly. You can't get stuck in one thing.
And you get stagnant and you don't see it, especially when things are busy. I will get focused on what's important and drop everything else. I mean, keeping the guys happy, keeping the guys there, keeping the customers happy, getting the job done. That's the priority. That's what brings the money in. So a lot of times other things fall right off of the plate and it just piles on. But Aaron helps me a lot with that. Which I think I go back to what I said. I couldn't do it alone. Um, it's challenging, but it's
Well, and I think it's like I have that big picture, you have the details. That's what works well for us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Bill, tell me about your hiring process start to finish. Like what does that look like for you? And as tactical as you want to get, like what does that look like? And depending upon the role too.
well, hiring is mainly for the field personnel. It's very quick, less touch points, the better. We don't want to make it difficult. We don't want to make it 5, 6, 7, 8 steps for them to actually get hired. We talk to them on the phone, and Aaron does a lot of that as well. We talk to them on the phone. We're open to either a Zoom interview or in-person interview, so we can kind of see how everyone reacts, and we see if they're a good fit for us, and we try them out. It's really not difficult to be hired. Somebody has to be presentable, have good customer service, and some skills, and then we can fit them into our role, and they can grow with us. It's not that hard. You have to show up for the interview, which is pretty challenging. You have to return the phone call, have a voicemail set up on the phone number in your resume. There's some things that have to happen on the other side, but it's not really difficult for us. We want to pay people to come do a good job, and we want to help them make their lives better.
Yeah. And what does that look like? Are you trial hiring those individuals like part-time first and then they're coming full-time? Are you just hiring them full-time right away? Are you hiring them as W-2 right away? Or what does that look like?
We could hire about 5 people today if we could get them in.
Wow.
Um, yeah, we bring them on. We it's a very quick and a very short leash, if you will. Um, Probably one day in office, 3, 4 days max paired up with somebody to understand what has to happen. And after that, they should be able to do it and kind of fumble through it and learn on their own. But it's really about what skills they have. If they can do some handyman repairs and they have good customer service skills, they're going to make it. And for a lot of the people,
Well, and if they're going to follow our process, because I think we got into a situation recently where the the field was starting to run the show, and we had to step back and be like, no, this is how we do things. With we got, on average 88 leads a week. We can't go out and do 88 estimates for 1 hour jobs. It's not a good business practice. So we were having a little bit of a situation where people felt like they needed to go see something first, and it was just a 1 or 2 hour job. And we really kind of had to step back in and nip that in the bud. Like, look, we're estimating it over the phone. This is how the job is. Can you do that or can you not do that?
and I think that's one of the toughest parts about the job is you have to have somebody that can stick and move with it. Somebody that is creative that can get there and say, I think I can do this and make progress on it. It's not a big construction company. Some contractors want to know everything that has to happen, have all the materials and tools right at their fingertips. That's not us. We are not those guys. We are the handyman. We will come figure out your crazy idea and we'll figure out how to fix it and make you happy. So those are the guys that really do well, that can figure that out on their own and that like that. Some of the people that have been doing carpentry or framing or plumbing or electric their whole career, they like the change. They're bored with all the same thing every day. it's a challenge. Someday you'll get a bad job and it's going to stink and it's dirty, and you finish your job and you move on. The next one's, oh, it's raining outside. I'm inside. I'm happy. So it's definitely a challenge. That's probably the hardest part, is being able to figure it out on the fly and use your creative skills and your experience.
Yeah, and I think finding those guys is
Hard.
takes time. It takes time to find guys who can, or anyone really. It's not just guys. We've had women in the field too, that can think on the fly, deal with the pressure. Not everyone can do that.
At Ace Handyman Services, whenever we get ready for the next job, we remember what to bring. We bring experience. We're local craftsmen that take pride in everything we do, from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. We bring understanding. We listen to your goals, and the job isn't completed until you're satisfied. And we bring helpful to your home. The loyal service you expect from the Ace brand you trust is now available to help keep your home operating in top condition, so you can spend more of your time on the projects that really matter. Ace Handyman Services, bringing helpful to your home.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
And so do you guys just keep a running job post, like continuous, or are you starting it up, taking it down, or
Basically, at this point, I'd say it's always running, and we just did a round of tweaking, kind of with the things we've gone through this year, to say, like, look, there's different levels within this business, and we're really clear about what they are, and you can't come in here and say you want, this much per hour and not be willing to climb a ladder.
yeah. And around your size, around like the kind of 3 territory size, or maybe even just like 500,000 in population, what do you know what the highest performing franchisee does, kind of around that space? Like what's the current ceiling right now?
I think about 2.5.
Mhm.
2.5. And so what do you think from here, where you guys are now, your current challenges, what you do well, what takes you from 1.3 to 2?
I think it's adding to our management team. We went through a couple of people, and it's a really tough position, I think, for, well, one, someone to work with a husband and wife, right? How fun is that? Uh,
Guess we'll find out.
so, someone who has the skills, the ability, the knowledge, but just doesn't want to do it on their own. I think that's a tough person to find.
And what would that role be?
I'd say operations manager. Do you agree?
I agree.
And so how would that shift? Let's say you found that right person. How would that shift in terms of what it allows then you guys to do to then grow to that next level?
Well, we actually just, was it this past weekend or probably last week, we were talking about, okay, these are the things we're each doing in the business. These are the things we like doing. These are the things we're good at doing. And we should probably stop doing these things and hire for those things. So, I mean, maybe that'll be the difference, that it isn't an operations manager. Maybe just hiring someone that specifically does estimating takes a huge chunk of work off of Bill's plate, because that estimation wheel is just always turning.
Well, Aaron, I think, works more on the business. I mean, they always say, if you're stuck in the rut, are you working in the business or on it? And I'm in it. I help to work on it, but it's a very small percentage. So if I have somebody helping me work in the business and keep the wheels moving, then we could really invest more time and efforts into how it's working and functionality. What are we going to add? What are we going to do differently? And that will help us grow. But I think that's why we're stuck, is because that's where I'm at. And I have a hard time breaking out. Like Aaron said, we went through a few people. We've tried a couple different things, and it's tough to transition to somebody new and slowly have them learn it and understand it and invest in them. And then it doesn't work out, and then you go another direction. So um, it's Aaron's baby. It's 20 years old. She's just not turning over the reins to anybody that is not going to treat it the way she wants. And I support that. I don't want to do that. I want it to be the right way. I want it to grow the right way. I want to maintain our customer service and our passion with that, not just grow the business to twice the size and be like everyone else. So I think that's the caveat of getting somebody to help me do the operations and get me more on the business to help with the things I'm good at in the background and the platform stuff. There's so much opportunity here just to work with what the tools we now have. It's incredible. It's really exciting. That's what I'm passionate about.
And what's been one of the best decisions that you guys have made for the business over the last year?
So 2 years ago, so 2020, we go through a name change during COVID, like a week before COVID really started to affect things here. So that's been interesting. In January 2022, the franchise switched to, I think, or no, maybe it was 2023, switched to a new website platform. So basically, I spent a year and a half trying to understand how to make the website work better. And I do not have an SEO background, but I have certainly gotten almost a college education in that in the past year and a half, almost 2 years. So that has been, I'd say, the biggest aha moment for me. It's like, oh my gosh, I have been totally faking this marketing thing for 20 years, and it's okay for me to like hire help. So hiring a business development manager to start making outbound phone calls and connecting with the community, it's just something that was always on the back burner. And then finding a way to work with a marketing company in an affordable manner. Um, we now have an intern in the office doing SEO, a marketing company that we work with that helps to guide her, that I also give input on, but I no longer have to be an SEO expert that I never was. So that's been great. So now, and that's given me more time to be back in the office and see like this man is really struggling, and I have left him holding my baby as a single dad, and I need to step back in and like take responsibility. Like, my dad always said I was the heart of the business. I have to be back here and be the heart, um, and then give him some space to have help. So just really, I think that's what my brain loves, is like figuring out the puzzle, figuring out the way through the tough times, and figuring out who we need to grow the business.
Yeah, I don't think we would have survived if you did not do that with the direction, the business development, the marketing, just navigating through the problems we've had to deal with. You've really branched off into different areas, looked for help, we looked at so many different things, and we couldn't afford a couple, but you found out how to get it done the best you could, and a heck of a lot cheaper. Saved us a lot of money, and you're getting it done. We're making progress. We're seeing the impact of it. So I mean, that really saved us, because the website not functioning is really, that's key. That's driving the phone to ring. So I think that was the best thing this year for me.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, it sounds like there's a couple of books. I don't know if you ever heard of them. There's this guy geez, how did I just forget his name off the is it Dan Kennedy? I think it's Dan Kennedy. There's a couple of books. So one is they wrote a trio of books, Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Um, they wrote a book called Who Not How. And the whole concept is around most business owners are trying to think, how do I do this? in my business, whereas the question really should be, who do I need, as opposed to trying to learn the how. So what I'm hearing is that that's one of the things that unlock things for you guys. It wasn't as much around the how, and more so around, well, let's find the who's who know the how, or know some of the how at least, and take some of the pressure off. They wrote another book too called 10x is easier than 2x. And have you read it?
I think she has it.
Well, yeah, I have 10x. It's probably within reach. And I think I read like the first 2 pages. And when I 10x the thought of number of people in the field, I got a little nauseous. But it certainly seems more possible with my husband. And I know my limits. I can handle about managing up to maybe 5 people. Beyond that, I'm a wreck. So
Well, here's what's interesting about the book is that the title's a little bit deceptive. The concept is not necessarily about actually 10xing it. The concept is more so uh 10x so that, it's 10x is easier than 2x, and the idea is to focus on kind of outside of the box thinking, where the natural thought would be, okay, 10xing people in the field, but maybe it's like, okay, our average cost per job is $1,200. What if we could get it to 2,000 or something like that, right? And what would it take in order to do that? And that a lot of the times it involves like really hard decisions, but it allows you to kind of work more strategically and essentially smarter rather than harder, or smarter and harder. It's a fascinating book, and the real challenge in it is, yeah, like, okay, how do I apply this to my business, and what does that look like? But yeah, it's fascinating.
I may be talking about the wrong book too.
You might be talking about the Grant Cardone book, which is he's all about 10xing and working hard and grinding. This one is the opposite concept. It's about how do I do things more strategically, as opposed to just working harder, which for me was like a relief to just to read that concept.
I'll check that out for sure.
Yeah. Cool, guys. Well, thanks for taking the time to come on and chat. And I know we have a pretty strong and core kind of base of people who watch or listen, that are good amount of them that are actively in the franchise buying process, trying to figure out if this is for them, and then a good amount of franchisees as well. And I know that the insights that you guys shared are going to be really valuable to both of those people. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Well, have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thanks.
Thank you. You too. Take care. Bye.
Hey, before we go, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't already. And the biggest thank you that you could ever give me is to share this episode with someone who you think will benefit. That means that we can share this message with more people and hopefully positively inspire them like we have you. So thank you. And until next time, go build your empire.